here for a proper shootout with some proper men like Colonel Custer and Geronimo. Heard of him? Nah, 'cause you were too busy in your penny baking fairy cakes. Hi guys, hope you like my little bit of mimicking there. Today I'm going to be doing my review of Legend, starring Tom Hardy as Ronnie and Reggie Kray. So this film came out, I think came out in September, if I remember correctly, but like everything, I'm a bit late to it. Even though I did see it then, it's only now I've got around to making the review, since it has been completely snubbed throughout award season, which I can kind of understand why, but in this review I'm going to show you a few reasons why it probably shouldn't have been snubbed. Okay, so Legend depicts the, I wouldn't even say the rise and fall, it's more, you see the Craze at the peak of their power in Gangsterland, and then you see their fall, even though you don't even really see that. you don't really see particularly a lot. You see them at the peak of their careers and when things start to disintegrate. Okay, so first things first, the performances. The biggest positive about this film, the performances were phenomenal. Tom Hardy was a legend. Now, the Craze are they are perceived by people to be the biggest villains the East End ever saw. They are gangster legend, and it's no mean feat to be able to portray the Craze and do it so well. And the fact that Tom Hardy had to portray both of these roles and make them different enough, they did feel really different. Like, you've got the cool, sophisticated, questionably level-headed Reggie, and you've got the completely psychotic Ronnie, who, he did look different, and that's got to be props to the makeup and prosthetics departments on the film. Because I'm pretty sure it was something to do with the gum line in his mouth that made him speak like this, and you think we look alike? Nah, you think he's gorgeous and I've got a face like a gorilla's arse. Oh, I just love doing an impression of him. It's amazing. Small pleasures. So, Tom Hardy was absolutely phenomenal. And to think he didn't want to do both roles. He just wanted to play Ronnie. He was fantastic. He stole the film from underneath everyone else. What's her name? Emily Browning. That's her, who played Frances. She was great. She was great. And I think what they chose to do with her character and her purpose as the narrator was really clever, and I appreciate what they were doing with it artistically, and I felt that it worked, even though at first it felt a little bit out of place, and I think the film could have still worked had the narration not been there. But I appreciate the director's artistic vision in regards to that. Yeah, she was really good. The supporting actors were great. You've got Taron Egerton, who plays Eggsy in Kingsman: The Secret Service. He played Mad Teddy, and he was great. The thing about this film, right, kind of a tangent, is it is so funny. Like, Ronnie is the funniest character by far, and it's just, the way he says things and the way he acts like a child. He is the funniest character by far, and he's a complete and utter psychopath, but you have far more sympathy with him than you have with Reggie, because Reggie just seems to be... he just changes like that. He is so unbelievably temperamental, and I don't really want to get into spoilers so much, but there was a scene with Frances where you instantly, in my mind, I was completely alienated from Reggie. For the rest of the film, I did not care about him. And it's very indicative of the characterizations that you... Ronnie is completely without empathy. He is insane. And yet he has the capacity to feel... I don't know if it's necessarily sorry for Frances, but he acknowledges that what Reggie has done to her is wrong, which is not something Reggie ever seems able to do himself. So I found that really interesting. A very interesting characterization trait. Yeah, it was so funny. Just certain lines are just hysterical, and that's down to Tom Hardy's own comedic timing, but also kind of the script. So props to the script. Yes, performances were fantastic. The cinematography, gorgeous. There was the first opening pan shot of 1960s London. It was a bit heavy on the CGI, which I didn't particularly like, but it was still really good. It was still really pretty. But you know when you're watching something and you can tell it's very obviously CGI? I'm talking the level of like Paris, the sky view of Paris in Les Miserables, when they've got that transition shot and you can just tell it's CGI, and it's just something does not sit right with you about it because it doesn't look particularly good. No, not throwing any shade, but you know, you can tell. You can tell. The cinematography was really gorgeous. Like when Frances is being introduced to the life of the Craze, the colours are quite bright and vibrant, and it seems more glamorous. And as the film progresses, as you see Frances being trapped in this life that she doesn't want to be in anymore, you see that the colour palette gets colder and colder and more. It gets less vibrant, more grey, which I like when the cinematography reflects the mood. So props to the editing and the cinematography. That was great. Now we're going to get on to some of the things that I perhaps didn't like as much. The script. Now, I appreciate that you have about 2 hours to film. If I remember correctly, this film was about 2 hours. The script was okay, right? You've got the comedic elements, which are great. You've got the moments of tension. I kind of felt like the end was a bit of a cop-out, because you didn't see the repercussions for anything. It just kind of cuts to... I feel like I can kind of... People that know about the Craze will know that they did end up going to prison. When Reggie gets caught, it felt a bit abrupt, a bit sudden, and the fact that they don't show any of what happened to Ronnie. He just kind of disappears for the last half an hour. Well, no, not even the last half an hour. Last 15 minutes after the party. You don't see him. And you're just given a picture of his mugshot and saying, oh, blah, 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 he died in Broadmoor. Well, okay, great. Why didn't you show him getting caught? I didn't... I would have liked to see both of them getting caught. I would have liked... I guess I would have also liked a bit of context at the beginning. I would have liked to kind of have some indication of their rise to power. The fact that it started at the peak was kind of... If you're going to market it as a gangster film, maybe that some of those elements would have been more applicable, but I can understand that the focus was more on the love story between, well, the love story and eventual lack thereof between Frances and Reggie. But at its heart, it was a film about the Craze, and I felt like the actual gangster stuff took a back seat, which I would never usually say because I'm not a big fan of gangster films. I would have liked to see more gangster-esque stuff, to be fair, but then again, it was told from Frances... Oh, oh dear. It was told from Frances's perspective, so I guess it kind of works in that regard. But I would have liked to see more gangster-esque stuff, and the beginning and the end in more depth. As I was saying before, with the excess use of CGI, I don't like it when you can use practical effects, when you can go out and you can make a set and it can be real. I don't understand why. I guess it's cheaper to use CGI, but practical effects, in my opinion, are so much better if you can do them. And if you've got the budget to do them, why did you rely on CGI that looks kind of fake? It's just, I'm getting Star Wars prequel flashbacks, and that's not really something you want within the first 2 minutes of a Kray film, which... Oh, I still have nights. I still have nights. I still have nightmares about Jar Jar Binks. Anyway, moving on. I also didn't feel like, considering it was a film about the Craze, who were violent thugs, it wasn't overly brutal. It was kind of tame, which obviously there's only so far you can go before you need an 18 rating, and then you limit your demographic. But it was, considering the films that have come before it, it was nowhere near as brutal as it could have been, and I think that's unfortunate. The bits that they did have, the fight scenes that they did have, were fantastic. Like the fight scene between Ronnie and Reggie, that was phenomenal. You could hardly tell that there would probably Tom Hardy in a stunt double. It looks so real, and if only they'd had more of that. That was great, and even that was kind of a bit tame as well. The fight in the bar was brutal. I like that. The torture scene, that was brutal. I could appreciate that. But it was too tame for, well, I'm making myself sound like I like proper love blood and guts and gore. I don't go abundance on it, but when you're making a film about the Craze, who were infamous in the East End, it was considerably too tame, which I don't know if that's down to wanting to keep a 15 rating, or if it was the script or something along those lines, but I think it could have been more brutal, in my opinion. However, going back to positives, because I completely omitted these, the soundtrack was amazing. It definitely has a very 60s vibe to it, which I should have been born in the 60s. Just saying. 60s was my time. Well, 60s or 70s. I would have thrived in those eras. However, I was born in 97, so no. Unfortunately not. But I love the music of the 60s, I love jazz, I love soul and rock and roll was the 50s. But I love that type of music that's very predominantly featured in the 60s. I loved the song by Duffy, which is based on a line that Frances says. It's like, it takes a lot of love to hate you as much as I do. I like that. That was cool. That was good. But yeah, that is all I have to say. The performances were amazing, and I'm really upset that Tom Hardy has been completely snubbed when he had to play two characters. He didn't even get recognition as a supporting actor in anything, if you're not gonna... Well, technically they're both main characters, but you know, Ronnie was amazing and Reggie was amazing. They were both amazing. But I'm glad that Tom Hardy has got recognition for The Revenant, because if he doesn't win, it will be an injustice. Also, if Leo doesn't win, we riot. Anyway, Legend was... It was a good Kray film. It was a good gangster film. Whether it was a good film based on the Craze is a different matter entirely. You've got the Craze with Martin and Ross Kemp, was it? With the Kemp brothers. And apparently, I have not watched it myself, but it's brutal. The Craze are infamous within East End history. They are the most infamous gangsters of the 60s, of the seedy underbelly of London. And I didn't feel it was brutal enough, and the focus was very much on the love story between Frances and Reggie, which if you're going to call it Legend, you might want to have more of a focus on them being within Gangster Legend. Don't just have it as a throwaway line that Frances says when Ronnie goes off to take care of some business. Show why they're legends. I just don't feel that the title worked for them, and I also disagree completely with the idea of calling the Craze legends. They were evil. They were infamous. They should not be legends. They shouldn't have that positive a title. So that was a fundamental thing I did not like. Even before I went into the film, I did not agree with the fact that they called it Legend. My own personal opinion. But anyway, yeah. So I would give it I'd give it 8 out of 10, because the performances alone were fantastic, and the script on the whole was very good, and the relationships between the brothers and between Frances and Reggie and Frances and Ronnie. They were really interesting. I don't know why they decided to completely get rid of the older Kray brother. Don't know why they did that. By making it seem like Violet only had her twins. Don't know why they did that. But the dynamic between all of the characters was really well done, and there was definitely chemistry between the relationships. Like the relationship between Ronnie and Teddy was that was so funny. The performances were great, but it did lack a certain brutality that you would expect of the Craze, and there was no real reason to call it legend because nothing they did indicated that they were legends. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys thought down below, and I will be back soon with another video. See you next time, guys.